Hey, listen, today's topic for my LinkedIn newsletter, it's the Independence, is about giving yourself credit. And you might think this is a complete waste of time. I used to think that, like giving myself credit, great, great. Oh, well, let me give myself a pat on the back, but really I have work to do. That was kind of my thought process. That's completely counter to what a successful business owner would think. And I've learned this the hard way, and I want to share with you today why it's incredibly important to add this concept of giving yourself credit into your business routine. And I have this whiteboard up because I want to draw you a picture really quickly, and then you can read the text below in the newsletter, in the LinkedIn newsletter. But here's what I have to say to you. Giving yourself credit can be the difference between you succeeding as an independent consulting business owner, someone who's making increasing levels of income and profit, as well as increasing your level of impact without needing to work more or build some complicated business model. This can be the critical success factor that's standing in the way between you succeeding as a business owner versus you kind of plateauing or hitting a ceiling and constantly making the same amount of money repeatedly year over year, feeling stressed about the roller coaster of revenue, and probably working more hours in the week than you would want to, either on your business or in your business or both. And so that's why this topic is so important today. So I want to give you a few examples to bring this to life. The concept of how it might how you might not be giving yourself credit and how that's impacting or creating that ceiling for you. So I'm going to give you two examples here, and then I'm going to draw this picture for you. So the first example, I had a client who came to me. It was a late Q1, early Q2. So the year had already started. They were describing to me their business, and we were just getting up and running from a coaching relationship perspective. So I was asking a lot of questions. They showed me their financials. Like, here's what I know already, here's what I've built out and what I've collected. So we looked at that. Then they showed me what their projections were. So these were contracts already signed, projected out month over month to see where the revenue would be coming. And then they showed me their forecast and the pipeline. The pipeline to really line of sight in terms of what contracts are, and where they were from a profitability perspective. And when we put all three of those things together, the client was shocked. They were shocked because they actually had already met their goal for the year. And like I said, it was March or April. They were shocked because they were coming to that conversation thinking they were behind, thinking that their business was fairly new and that, they needed to figure out how to market and sell themselves. That wasn't their problem. They didn't need to figure out how to market and sell themselves. When we actually saw the data and they gave themselves credit for the data, where they were based on the data, based on the math of it, we realized the problem for them wasn't marketing and selling themselves. We realized the thing that would move the needle the most in their business was that if they started looking at their pricing and actually doing a better job at capacity management and figuring out, based on the number of hours that they still had remaining to work and sell in their business. I'm not saying sell by the hour, but the actual capacity view of this, that they needed to start charging more of a premium for access to them and their time because of what they had already sold. They didn't have a sales and marketing problem or a business development problem. They had a pricing challenge that they needed to look at. So do you see where when you don't give yourself credit in your business, you end up solving potentially a completely different problem or taking a completely different strategy than is the most impactful, that then would be the most impactful for you? The second example that I want to share with you is, sorry, pause there. I wanted to make sure I was recording. Okay, the second example that I want to share with you is I had a client who came to me and said, you know what, I'm really bad at business development, really bad at selling consulting. That's such a blanket statement, right? So when I started asking them questions about their business and what they'd accomplished in the past, and just all of their trying to do an inventory of the raw material that we had to work with here, it became incredibly apparent that they weren't bad at selling. They weren't giving themselves credit for the type of selling they were good at. They were good at selling things for other people, like their past employer. They were great at selling things for that past employer. They were great at selling employees that used to work for them on initiatives that they needed to work on and priorities, and working into the wee hours of the night to accomplish deadlines. They were good at selling even for nonprofits. They were great at those types of things and had a track record of selling. So they weren't bad at selling. What they needed to focus in on so if they continued down that path, they would have either quit, because you've got to work as when you're a consultant, you've got to be able to sell your services, or they might have just continued relying on marketplaces and lower paying opportunities from a consulting perspective. Whereas once we really narrowed it down, we figured out what they weren't yet fully skilled at is selling themselves. So we were able to start building upon the expertise and experience they already had to improve their sales and marketing process, business development process for their business, versus thinking we were starting from scratch, which is a completely different approach and strategy. So again, do you see where not giving yourself credit is going to completely send you down the wrong path, solving the wrong problems, taking on the wrong strategies? Okay, let's wrap up this quick video with a picture. That's why I have the whiteboard up here. So imagine yourself climbing a mountain, and maybe there's like a little flag at the summit. It might be past like a little peak here, right? So we don't really know where it's just on the other side of the summit. We don't really see the flag from where we're hiking. And let's just say you're right here. You're right here. This is you. You're almost to the summit. Whatever the summit is, this is your goal, right? Oh my goodness, I'm going to try to spell here. This is your goal. Whatever the current goal is for your business. You're actually right here if we were to look at the math of it, but you think you're down here. You're going to take such a different approach, right? You might go slow and steady because you think you have to climb all the way up here. You might take more breaks because you think you're down here and you've got to go all the way up here. You might drink more water because you think you've got to climb all this distance, whereas you're right here, trying to pace yourself. When you recognize where you're actually at and operating from that place, I mean, you literally could sprint to the finish line. The strategy that you would use is so different when you realize where you're actually at versus when you're trying to operate from not giving yourself credit and thinking you have so much further to go. So if you think about this mountain for yourself, realize that you're probably if you're like most consultants, you haven't given yourself credit for where you actually are in the maturity of you being a business owner. This is what's so important, and the techniques that I share with you in today's newsletter, in today's The Independent article on LinkedIn, because you want to really give yourself credit for where you're at and solve problems and create strategies for yourself to get yourself to the goals that you've set, versus just assuming you're behind, or you don't know what you're doing, or you're not good at this, or whatever that internal dialogue might be, and trying to create strategies and processes and routines from that place. So that's why this is so important. And that's why it's really a key for you to read this newsletter today and go put those 3 strategies that I share with you at the bottom into practice. And before we wrap up this video, I also want to encourage you, if you haven't yet already, go take the Independent Consultants Scalability Scorecard that I've created for you as an independent consulting business owner. You're going to answer 26 quick hitting questions. It takes a couple minutes. And from there, Based on your answers, it will produce a personalized, tailored report to you and your business to give you those top 1 or 2 priorities you can begin focusing on to help move the needle from a scaling perspective. So you can make more impact in your business, so that you can work with higher quality clients, solving more challenging, interesting problems for them. And so ultimately you can make more income for yourself and do it in a much more flexible way. So that's what I have for you today. Go out and take that independent consultants scalability scorecard. You can find it at IC, the letters IC for independent consultant scorecard.com. All right. See you again. I look forward to hearing your feedback. So leave your comments below this article. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. Take care.